How do I talk again? I haven't done this in public for such a long time.
You gotta make it fun. You gotta make it exciting. I'll make it a bit now. I'm thinking like Creature Club, new Creature Club. I think we gotta like really
refresh the page. Okay.
Refresh the page. You gotta refresh our own like soul here. We gotta really amp it up, man.
Gotta breathe new life into the Creature Club intro.
Creature Club is old.
It's old and it's shitty and it smells bad.
Yeah, we need a new podcast. I'm thinking D&D. No one talks about D&D anymore. I'm thinking
Eclipse Phase.
Eclipse Phase,
but first edition, not second edition, because second edition is for casuals, as we all know.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Eclipse Phase first edition. We're going to talk about Godlike.
Oh, Godlike's fun.
We're going to talk about Lady Blackbird and Magister Lore and Lord Skurlock.
That's the one.
Which are all games that I know the two of you already know, so I'm not going to explain them.
Yep. Who's Lord Skurlock? I won't. You know what? Let's not go into this. we got to record this.
Hello and welcome to Creature Club, the podcast where myself, Tim Porter, and my co-hosts, Mikey
Hey.
and Daniel
Hello.
walk you through the monsters in the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. Today we talk about the mythical Dryad, a creature of the forest, who we will learn much about the history of in the world. We will learn about the history throughout all of Dungeons & Dragons, and we will have some fun banter and good times along the way. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this episode.
So what's your favorite D&D monster, guys?
My favorite monster is dragon.
Mine would also have been the dragon if it hadn't been choking us for almost this entire year.
I am being choked.
It's like
Help.
For the hosts of Creature Club 2020, regardless of what the zodiac calendar says, was the year of the dragon.
100%.
That's all we talked about.
First episode, Dragon's intro.
In our eyes, there's only 2 years. There's Year of Dragon and Year Luigi. That was that 1 year for Nintendo. That's all I remember.
And they're all part of the Millennium.
Yeah.
Millennium fucking sucks, guys. I don't know. I think we really got to talk to Mr. Smith about this.
We must give a chat to him.
Will.
Give us a buzz when you hear this.
What the fuck, Will?
Yeah, man. We really need to talk this out.
Yeah, we got a Discord group for it's just us four and Will Smith. So like we were,
The three of us.
we got it.
And Willie Smith.
Also, speaking of Willie Smith, I guess.
How are you
good to see you back, Tim. How's it going, Tim?
I'm doing all right, yeah.
Speaking of big Willies, how's it going, Tim?
Well, we got to put the explicit tag on this one, boys. Our iTunes is going to have our ass.
All of our episodes are explicit, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true, yeah. I literally, when I set up the podcast, I flagged us as explicit because we cut so much.
Yeah.
We say the F word a lot. Like
We fucking do. But yeah, I've been doing all right. I was working very hard on a thingy there. My first proper job back since coming over here to America. So I didn't have the free time to sync up with you guys during the week or even on the weekends to get a podcast. But I have finished up with that job now. And so I would at least have 1 week where I can record a podcast.
Yay!
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you back for this 1 week.
Woohoo.
It is. It's excellent.
Yeah.
It's good.
Thank you. It's good
and
to
we
be
thought
back.
while we have you here, we'll do a Creature Club. We'll do a proper.
Yeah, as
Creature
always.
Club.
Yeah,
Yes.
like you finally got some free time, and we're like, get your
Business
fucking arse
first.
to work, man. What do you think This is a fucking holiday. Get on that mic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No breaks. Yeah, no. Get on the mic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Talk about fucking spiders again. Or
Talk
something.
about dragons again.
Yeah.
No, please.
What do you think of them?
Tell me your thoughts.
What are the red ones do? Do you guys remember what any of the dragons do? Because I completely forgot. what they do.
I feel like I can remember like highlights,
Yeah.
and I feel like there's a lot I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't think I remember anything about the Copper Dragon.
I do remember one of them had this ability that was like it was fraidy pantsing or something. Like it just makes people really afraid of them. You like they just do a big rar or something.
No, I don't think that's a dragon ability.
Is it not?
I think you're thinking.
feel
I
like
think
it might
that's
have been.
aboleth. I think.
I think Mikey's right. I
you're
think that's
probably
Aboleth.
right.
aboleth. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
Fraidy pantsing.
Aboleth.
Everyone knows aboleth does fraidy pantsing.
Fraidy
I'm pretty sure.
pantsing, Yeah.
Yeah, which is ironic because obviously it's a fish that doesn't wear trousers. It's very
Yeah, it's
No,
weird.
It's very good.
it pantses you, and then you are afraid.
Right, psychically pantses you.
Yes.
And then you're
Mind
afraid.
pants. The power of my ability, mind pants, where I can pants you with my mind.
It's been a while since Aboleth in my defense, but yeah, I should remember that.
Yeah.
No, but I remember some of the bad dragons. I remember all of them briefly because the reason bad dragons are easy to remember is because also I can't stop thinking of the website Bad Dragon when I say that.
I don't know it.
What's bad dragon?
They make sex toys.
Oh.
there we go.
Right,
Just
the dragon did
a little
those.
bit of free advertising there, Daniel. Come on.
You
Where's
asked.
the money? Where's the money?
Bad Dragon sponsorship.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'd love that.
I'll be down for that.
It'd be really appropriate actually, given what we cover.
Yeah, we got fucked by dragons for an entire year.
Yeah, literally. Like, we should get in touch before we release this episode. No, what I was going to say was I remember what the evil dragons do because I think it's easier to remember villainous motivations. And also they're all very straightforward. They're kind of archetypal, whereas all the sort of good dragons are a bit like nuanced because they all have to be like good and also immortal, and also they have to have a weird specific
Yeah,
motivation.
they have to be distinct. Like they can be good, but they also have to be like good in a different way to everyone else.
Exactly. So like I can't remember anything about the Copper Dragon. I remember that the Silver Dragon is the one who likes to fight in melee, or that was in 4th edition, but I like that enough that I'm going to keep that for whatever edition I'm playing.
Yeah.
And the Gold Dragon had the weird mind powers, like they could see the future and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
so weird.
Yeah.
But it only came up in their lair actions and not in their abilities, which was such a huge waste of potential.
There's a few people out there who are listening to Creature Club and are kind of like, catching up with it and binging on it. So they would be like just finishing up dragons themselves. And then they get to this episode for Dryads and go like, are they still talking about dragons? It's been like...
Yeah, they haven't looked at like the podcast description because
No,
they're like
God, no.
working or something. And they're like,
Yeah.
are they still on? I thought they did something else. I thought we were done with dragons.
But yeah, shall we just... say that we're actually going to talk about the Dryads. And
We're going to talk about the
Yes.
Dryad. But to answer your original question, Mikey, I think my favorite monsters are probably goblins.
Nice one. Goblins are
very
good.
good.
Just they're fantastic.
Goblin
I like
Knights.
bullywugs myself. I really like bullywugs.
Excellent choice.
Horrible frog people.
I like purple worms because I opened
yeah.
opened to a random page in the monster manual in front of me, and it was purple worms.
I thought you were going to say because of Dune.
I actually think my favorite monster is the like properly, not instead of meme monsters. It's the Remoraz. I think.
Oh, that's a great choice. I always pick goblins because I think goblins are just so flexible. They're fantastic.
Totally, yeah.
But in fairness, I have a horrible brain disease. You see, where when you say what's your favorite monster in D&D, I don't have like the fiction anymore. It's like I'm too jaded. It's like, what's your favorite monster? It's like they're all stat blocks.
Yeah.
So like I think about like narrative, like I think about the fact that I have to write campaigns and put together stories, and it's like I like goblins because they can fit anywhere.
Yeah.
They're like all-purpose whitewash for your campaign. Like it's like there's a bit of a plot hole here. Some goblins. I'll just cover that up. That's fine. That's not.
Yeah.
There's no problems here. It's like there's baddies. Now they're probably goblins. Goblins are just sort of jerks and like to hang out and like it's fine.
Yeah, very reasonable.
I like that when you add goblins in, there's never like a urge for the goblins are behind something. No, they're just goblins. They're just
just
They're
goblins.
just there to fight something. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, a bit of fun.
And also goblins can be funny, which is really good. And I've always used funny goblins as an early enemy for new players.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's a great way to get them into the game is to make them laugh.
Yeah, I very distinctly remember goblins throwing bags of flour at us in one of your games where we were playing
Exactly,
with
yeah.
some newbies, and that was just great crack.
And that's it, because goblins can do things like raid a pantry and find a bag of flour and attack you with it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, and a normal person who doesn't have a relationship with fantasy will understand the comedy of having flour thrown over you. But it's still like, oh, it's still a monster and it's still like threatening you and attacking you. And like when the flower actually does something, you're like, oh my god, we have to do something about this. It's actually a problem, which is great fun.
So, speaking of flower and flowers,
There we go. Hey.
we are talking today about the Dryad, I guess, after 10 minutes of bullshit.
Oh god, it's been 10 minutes. All right,
It's been. I was going to bonk your heads together and say, "Come on, guys, let's talk about." But Tim already was thinking the exact same thing there.
Yep.
that's fair.
Yeah. So we are talking about the Dryad. Tim, it sounded like you had an introduction there, so I'll just let you do that.
I do have a little bit. Yeah.
Do it.
Today we're going to be talking about the Dryads, which are originally a Greek myth, if you will allow me to jump into my history section.
Jump in.
Sure. So the
Very well.
Dryad is actually very well. I will allow it. So the Dryads were a Greek mythological creature. They are tree nymphs. And originally, the Dryad specifically, like the word Dryad, was only for oak trees. So tree nymphs of the oak trees were called Dryads because the Greek word, which means oak, is drys, D-R-Y-S. I might be mispronouncing that, but yeah. And now it's kind of become synonymous with just any tree nymph, basically, in a kind of Western understanding. But other than the Dryads within Greek mythology, you had the Daphne, which were laurel trees, who were named after Daphne, who used to be a naiad, which is a spirit who presides over bodies of fresh water, like lakes and rivers, and waterfalls actually were pretty popular, apparently, for them. But she was apparently very beautiful and was constantly barraged with unwanted sexual advances. So
nothing has changed. It's been 2,000 years, and we have moved entirely sideways. Cool. Thank you.
Yep, there you go. And so she called out to Gaia, the god of the earth, and she turned her into a laurel tree, the first ever laurel tree. And so the Daphnes
Nice. Bit of lore.
are the laurel
That's
trees.
what happens when you go to a laurel tree. It's like, so what's the backstory of this laurel tree? Well, let me tell you.
And then you're like, talking tree. Other than the Daphnes and the Dryads, we had Epimelides, which were Dryads of apple trees, but were also guardians of sheep, because the word for sheep and tree, or tree and, sorry, the word for apple and sheep are very, very similar. And you'll never guess what it is. So my understanding before reading up on this was that Milo was the word for apple. But apparently it's Milon, or M-I-L-O-N, which is also the Elvish word for friend, and also the word melon.
A melon is a different fruit. It can't be apples.
I know.
How would you know? How would you know what you're having for breakfast?
It was incredible.
So melons are sheep,
Yep.
melon, friend, and
Apple.
apple.
Yep.
Is that what that bit went to, Tim?
That's exactly what
Great
that bit
information
was.
in there, but is that the point of it? Is that like the take-home message of the entire...
Yes. That melon is a very diverse word, and we should treat it as such. Treat it with the respect it deserves, basically.
Did the naiad want to be turned into a tree? I know we've moved past it, but I'm just thinking.
Not specifically. She just wanted to be saved from all of the unwanted sexual advances. And Gaia was like, sure, you're a tree now.
Are they called a dryad because it's like they're not a water spirit?
They're dry.
They're dry. Like they're not a naiad.
Nice.
They're more like a dryad
I'll turn my trusty nying pan.
into a drying pan.
Excellent.
I guess that makes sense from Gaia's point of view. If it's like your thing is like the nature, and someone's like, "Can you help me with this?" Like, you're a tree, and it's like, thanks.
But then you also can't say thanks or fuck you because you're now a tree.
Yeah, you are a tree.
Although
that's fair.
I suppose Gaia should probably be able to talk to trees. She was probably fine with it. She was like, hell yeah, I'm a tree now. I think she was also she was a Daphne, a laurel tree nymph after that. So like she could just turn into a tree.
Yeah.
Whenever someone came up to her, she was like, no, fuck off. I'm a tree now.
I'm tree.
Wish I had that power.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
That'd be a great way to skip over winter, like just turn into a tree for a couple of months.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then there is the Meliae, which are ash trees. So those are all the Greek tree nymphs that I could find. And then I found a couple other kind of tree nymphs, kind of tree fairies, because I tried to kind of broaden my search. And I found the Salabhanjika, which is the Sanskrit word for breaking a branch of the Sala tree, but they were fairies in the kind of Indian and, I can't remember, Sri Lankan mythology. Because Sanskrit is originally a written language from Sri Lanka. And the Salabhanjika was basically just kind of a mischievous fairy. And it was interesting finding that. We also have in Baltic mythology, they have the Latvian Lauma and the Lithuanian Laume, which were fairies and protectors of trees, marsh, and forest areas. So their favorite terrain were always trees, marsh, and forest. So you can be a Latvian Lauma or a Lithuanian Laume if you want to play that character.
Oh, cool.
And they had some cool mythology to them where they used to be a sky spirit, but they came down to earth because they had so much compassion for human suffering. They wanted to help. So they protected people's trees and marsh and forests.
Oh, that's nice.
Which I thought was really cool. And then in the real world, we have a couple butterflies that are known as tree nymphs. We have the Idea or the Ideopsis butterfly, which are two separate butterflies, but they are both known as tree nymphs from Southeast Asia. And we have the Sevenia, which is an African tree nymph butterfly, which is really cool. There are actually a whole genus of butterflies called it's something Nymphidae or something, like the nymphs, basically the tree nymphs that are butterflies, and they're very pretty. And I suggest everybody looks them up because they're lovely to look at.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So there you go. That's my little bit of mythological history and real things.
I thought you were going to say for a second, it's like, and of course in the real world, there are no tree spirits. But we've given every tree a gun, so.
Now they can defend
Your
themselves.
move.
Your move, loggers.
Trees have guns now.
Very cool. Well, that's
Yeah.
fantastic, Tim. That is a whole lot of information, a whole lot of cool information.
Thank you.
About Dryads in real world mythology.
Yeah, I miss doing the deep dives into mythological history and lore. That is my part in this episode.
There's definitely a massive hole when it's just me and Daniel of like, usually Tim's here to just kind of say all the stuff. Now when it's just me and Daniel, it's just Daniel says a lot of information and I sometimes say something that's sometimes considered funny or not funny.
You were always bringing up good questions, and your perspective is always appreciated, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But enough of that shit. Let's go on to what we have it in the Dungeons and Dragons part.
Let's talk real shit. Let's talk about a stupid game.
What are we, friends?
Stupid game. All right, where is it? Where are Dryads from? Where they come from?
Let's talk about Greek mythology.
It's happening again.
No.
So unsurprisingly, like a lot of mythological creatures, we see the Dryad in the first monster manual. They are actually you'll be interested to know this, Tim. Actually, the original Dryad says that they are only found near oak trees, and that the oak trees are their home. It actually specifies it would obviously, which makes sense, I suppose. The people who made Dungeons and Dragons were big into their mythology. They were kind of nerds, so they'd probably know that the Dryads were actually the natives of oak trees specifically.
There you go.
And the Dryad is a great example of like a kind of a non-combat monster. Doesn't really it's non-violent by nature. It doesn't have an alignment. It's neutral, so it doesn't have like strong opinions that would mean it would come to blows with people. It does specify like it defends its home, which is a tree, and it might defend other parts of the wood because it would care for it. But assuming that the party, stay out of its way, it'll stay out of their way. But it actually introduces a really interesting concept. It says if seriously threatened or if near a male with a 16 or higher charisma, the Dryad will use their powerful charm person spell. Maybe cast with 3 times a day with it basically like you have like the equivalent of disadvantage on saving throw, and if it works they take the person away. The person who's charmed is just taken away by the Dryad.
Wow.
And then it has a really fun thing here which I absolutely adore. If a person is taken away by the Dryad, there is a 50% chance they will never return.
Wow.
And then it says, and if they do return, it will be within 1 to 4 years later. And I love this.
Gonna roll that D4.
I fucking love this because it's like, it's literally like character death, but there's no damage. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care how much HP you have. You just leave. You're gone.
Where do they go?
This Dryad person just comes up to you and is like,
Feywild?
I'm pretty.
That's a very good question, Mikey. It's actually not specified in the first edition book, but we do get more information on that in the second edition book.
Oh, wow.
The only thing it says in first edition is, the Dryads actually have a bunch of language proficiencies. It says they speak their own tongue and Elvish and Pixie-ish and Sprite, and they can also speak with plants, unsurprisingly. It says if carefully approached, they may be persuaded to aid a person or a party, and they have exact knowledge, and this is obviously telling you why you might want to approach them. It says they have exact knowledge of the wood or forest in which they dwell. So if there's a hidden temple or a treasure or a villain, and you're not sure where to find them because it's a big wood, you're in like Mirkwood or somewhere like that, like a dangerous forest, you know that the Dryads, and you know that they only exist in oak trees. If you could find an old oak, maybe you could convince its inhabitant to aid you. And you obviously have to be careful if you have, a paladin or a bard, someone with a naturally high charisma, because the Dryad might take an interest in that person, and maybe the party leave them behind, and don't risk them.
They'll nick your friend because they're too hot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you are
basically.
too sexy for this mission, hero. I'm sending you home. You're off the case.
You're off the case.
You're off
good looking.
You're off the case. Well, how dare you? It's like cuts to the hair. He's got this like incredible chiseled jawline. It's like
Just action man.
like no hunks allowed. The poster was very clear. So yeah, sorry. As I said, we get more information on what the Dryads do exactly in second edition. We also get a little bit more detail about the Dryads themselves. There's a nice detail where it says that a Dryad's complexion and hair color change with the season, presenting the spirit with natural camouflage. So during the fall, for example, their hair turns golden and red, and their skin kind of darken to a more kind of almost like a brownier red, like redder tone, and then they brighten up as the year goes on. So like they become kind of white in the winter to blend in with snow, and then they become more green or even pink in the summer. It actually says that it specifies that because they go so white in the winter, they might actually be mistaken for an elven woman, because they literally turn like almost human-esque in their appearance.
That's funny, because the only actual tree nymph that I found in mythological history was the Epimelides, the apple and sheep tree nymph, who was the only one to specifically have white hair. So maybe the D&D Dryad is kind of like conglomeration of all of them.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. And then it goes back to what it says. It says the same thing as previous edition. Whenever a Dryad encounters a male with a charisma of 16 or more, she usually tries to charm him. Charismatic victims of the Dryad's attentions are often taken to the tree sprite's home, where the men serve as amorous slaves to their beautiful captors. There is a 50% chance that a person charmed and taken away by a Dryad will never return. So same thing as before, which I think is fascinating. Just the idea that there are almost like it has that real kind of classic, almost like Arthurian fantasy, like there are fates worse than death, and there are ways to disappear that aren't just like you get stabbed. It's like you literally lost 4 years of your life working for a Dryad because of magic. And that's it. Yeah, and then it talks about how they live in an oak tree. Actually, again, second edition still clarifies they only live in one oak tree. And that's basically it. And similar stuff as before. Third edition, mostly the same as second edition. Fourth edition is where it gets a little different, as it often does. In fourth edition, they're like big monsters. The art is very different in the book, in the fourth edition monster manual.
Oh, it is.
Yes,
they are monsters. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the first edition book, it's literally like a woman next to a tree, and because the art's in black and white, there's no clarity that it's actually a magical creature. The second edition book makes it a bit more clear. I think the third edition art is probably my favorite, where there's a strong emphasis on the notion that this is a creature like made of wood. It's sort of got that like oakiness to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in fourth edition, it's a monster. It's a monster, and it's got basically none of those abilities we talked about. It's no longer able to charm people. It's just got some teleport moves, and it can attack people. There's a big Dryad called the Briar Witch Dryad, and that's basically it's got a cool move called Briar Cage, but we can go back to that later, I think.
Yeah. Maybe if you want to add some moves onto this Dryad, but we can possibly read what's here and then go into it and go back to those ones and brainstorm something cool. Let's see what this one's like, though. Shall I read the 5th edition?
Yeah, absolutely.
Little paragraphs?
Go for it.
Or you guys can jump in if you so wish. Dryad. Travelers entering a forest might catch a glimpse of a feminine form flitting through the woods. Warm laughter hangs on the air, drawing those who hear it deeper into the emerald shadows.
Lovely.
Nice little introduction there. Tree bound. Powerful Fae will sometimes bind lesser Fae spirits to trees, transforming them into dryads. This is sometimes done as a punishment when the Fae spirit falls in love with a mortal and that love is forbidden. A dryad can emerge from the tree and travels the lands around it, but the tree remains her home and roots to the world. As long as the tree remains healthy and unharmed, the dryad stays forever youthful and alluring. If the tree is harmed, she suffers. If the tree is ever destroyed, the dryad descends into madness. Wow.
My goodness.
Look at that, guys. That is something else there.
That last little bit actually reminds me of another little bit of the history that I found. I left out little bits here and there because I realized I was taking a little long, but there's actually a concept of a hamadryad, which is specifically a dryad that lived and died within the tree that they were responsible for. So like when the tree died, they died. And so they are kind of worshipped to a certain amount. Like they are lauded, I guess, among dryads specifically for having protected their tree forever, basically, for their entire lives.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that they have that
It's
as
a
well.
very cool concept. Yeah. Maybe if there's an evil dryad, then you'd like attack the tree. That's the way to destroy it. Or there's a dryad that had their tree destroyed and then they've gone mad. Maybe that's kind of a thing, you know. Something like that. You can do lots with that.
I've had an idea that I'll save for part 3.
Part 3.
Yes. Reclusive Fae. Dryads act as guardians of their woodland demesnes?
Domain.
Dements.
Domono?
It's domain, basically, but it's an old French way of spelling it. Or it's an old way of spelling it. But it's just domain.
Domo. Shy and reclusive, they watch interlopers from the trees. A dryad struck by the beauty of a stranger might investigate more closely, perhaps even try to lure the individual away to be charmed. Dryads work with other sylvan creatures to defend their forests. Unicorns, treants, unicorns.
It's a unicorn.
Unicorn.
It's so beautiful.
Unicorns, treants, and satyrs live alongside them, in addition to druids that share the dryad's devotion to the woods they call home. Lovely.
Lovely stuff.
All friends.
stuff.
They're all friends.
So they're reclusive fae. So they don't like human or humanoid society, but they're mates with unicorns, treants, and satyrs.
But they like sexy humans.
like
That's
unicorns.
True, yeah. Like unicorns.
I guess in the
famously.
Fae, no one's really ugly in the Fae, you know? Everyone's kind of trying to be...
Yeah, you have to be sexy to be a fae.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the
Just
rules.
gotta. Except in 4th
gotta.
edition, apparently.
Except in 4th edition. Woodland magic. Dryads can speak with plants and animals. They can teleport from one tree to another, luring interlopers away from their groves. If pressed, a dryad can beguile humanoids with their enchantments, turning enemies into friends. They also know a handful of useful spells. That last line fucking totally undermined that paragraph.
I have a handful of useful spells, hero.
The greatest of which.
Shall we just keep going? Shall we, do you want to jump into a stat block? Because we're about 30 minutes in and we haven't talked about the monster.
Time for meat and potatoes.
It's time for meat and potatoes. It is indeed. Let's all have a good time. Let's jump on the train. Let's
Head to
go there.
town. Jesus Christ. Are you all right, Mikey?
No, I'm never all right, I think.
That's my secret.
Not all right.
I'm not all right. No, not all right.
I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
Copyright strike.
Yeah, we're fucking rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. We're done. Thank you. All right. Next.
Dryad. Medium Fae. Neutral. Armor class 11. 16 with bark skin. Ooh. And 22 hit points, which is 5d8. And they have a speed of 30 foot. Their strength is 10. Their dexterity is 12. Constitution is 11. Intelligence 14. Wisdom 15. And charisma 18. Which is a nice little stat box. So they're consistently better than your average human being.
Yeah. They're probably about as good as a player.
Yeah.
Like their stats probably similar to a PC.
if not slightly better.
Maybe.
Skills, they are proficient in perception and stealth. They have senses, unlike most people. They have dark vision up to 60 feet. They have passive perception 14. And they have common sense. Why did you let me back on this show? They speak Elvish and Sylvan.
Good.
They are challenge rating 1, which is worth 200 experience points. And experience is
We'll
spelled
get
with an
4
X.
level 1 people after him.
Yep, 4
How
level
it works.
About that. A party of level 1ers. This could be a boss fight in your first episode.
A gaggle of oneers. That's what I'd call them
1ers.
when you're starting out D&D.
And a duopoly of doublers. Of 2ers, sorry. Ooh. Cool. Daniel, would you like to read the abilities?
Very well, I shall. First ability is innate spellcasting. The Dryad's innate spellcasting ability is Charisma, spell save DC 14. So that's all right, given its low challenge. The Dryad can innately cast the following spells requiring no material components. So that still requires somatic and verbal. So they have to yell and they have to point fingers. At will Druidcraft, that's a cantrip that basically does like a bunch of small things like start fires and cause breezes and things like that. Like just like little naturey bits and pieces.
You can make vines grow.
It's like prestidigitation, but druidy.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
3 times a day for each of these spells, they can cast Entangle and Goodberry. So those are both pretty useful. Entangle is a big AoE that creates vines. If you're caught on it initially, I think you have to make a saving throw or you're stuck. And otherwise it's just difficult terrain. And good berries are just, you make like some number. Is it a fixed number, like 12 or 10 or it's not like a dice roll. You just make a number of berries, and each of those berries restores 1 HP, but also fills you for the day. So that's the only food you need.
The Dryads should come together and make a smoothie shop and call it Goodberry. And then they could just put their good berries into a bunch of milkshakes.
Like,
or
that'll
smoothies.
fill you up so much. Though.
It would.
You would
It would.
throw up. You'd throw up the good berry smoothie.
A whole smoothie of them. You drink it and then you.
No, but like the Goodberry is a secret ingredient. You just put normal like strawberries and bananas and blueberries, and then there's like 1 or 2 good berries. A good one you pay a little bit of premium.
Is it not a bad business model to make food that fills people so they don't come back?
Well, it's not like they feed them forever. It's like they're not like they're never hungry ever again.
Well, the difference between I'll have 1 smoothie or I'll have 2 smoothies, dothat's doubling your profits.
Fair. Get
anyway,
large.
1 a day of each spell.
I think they're trying to get the like they're not trying to get people to come back. They're trying to get everyone to tell their friends to go there. I think that's kind of their business
fair
model.
enough. Word of
maybe.
mouth.
But it's not a good business model, but it's
it's like it's
small
really they're
business.
doing more of a sort of a coffee shop model where you'll come in maybe once every half. You'll come in twice a week. You get 1 smoothie and you'll leave. So they don't have to have a lot of floor space. They can have a small building, so they don't have to pay a lot of rent, and they only need like 2 employees running the place.
There you go.
And with their nature magic, they can probably keep everything fresh.
Yeah, totally. Perfect.
Anyway, you can continue.
1 a day of each of these spells. Bark Skin, which we've mentioned before in the armor class.
Bark.
Pass Without Trace, and Shillelagh. Of those, Bark Skin is the one that just sets your AC to 16. And if I recall correctly, Bark Skin is the one you can't cast on other people. And Stone Skin is the one you can, or who knows.
I know not.
Anyway, Bark Skin is bad because you have to concentrate on it. So that's bad. Pass Without Trace is the one that means that you don't leave any tracks and you get a bonus to stealth checks for the next hour.
Plus 10.
Yes. It's very good. And then Shillelagh is the one that makes a stick into a really good stick.
I like these spells because I think they're all like thematically, fitting.
Appropriate.
For a Dryad.
Nothing overpowered for a challenge rating 1 thing.
No, but also just the spells are just, they're all very druidy, woodland kind of spells. They all kind of suit that theme. So I like it. They all make sense.
Very straightforward.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a shame that that Barkskin is like a bit bad, so that even though it's thematically appropriate, it will probably be like more useful for them to have like mage armor or something.
Yeah, but they are challenge rating 1, so maybe they're not supposed to be
it's
that
not a big deal.
tough.
And they're not really a combat enemy anyway. Like they're a neutral fae. Like it'd be weird for you to just be fighting these things.
Yeah, they might cast it to avoid combat. Like they'll just put up the bark skin so that they can take a bit of a hitting if your players decide they want to.
Yeah, unless you're doing just like a random encounter, they just show up and you have to fight them. You know?
Yeah.
Just like an RPG.
It's also worth mentioning that both, I think, Entangle, Barkskin, and maybe Pass Without Trace are all concentration. And actually Shillelagh might be as well, but I feel like it isn't. But just that there's some mutual exclusivity in their spells. That's just, worth knowing. Worth keeping in mind. Anyway, that's enough about these. Enough of this shite. Magic resistance. The Dryad has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. The Dryad is able to resist magic. The main thing I think that's cool for is that it can resist its own magic. So it can like entangle its feet and like get everyone else but not itself, which is fun. Speak with beasts and plants.
Whoa.
Ooh.
The Dryad can communicate with beasts and plants as if they share language. I don't feel like plants would have a lot to say.
No.
No offense to all our plant listeners.
They just sway a bit.
I think a Dryad would know what to speak to a plant about,
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
Since they are mostly tree.
They have an 18 charisma. They're like naturally tree creatures. They probably have a good idea of like plant small talk.
Yeah, fair.
Like if you gave that to like a player, they wouldn't know what to say. But a
Useless.
Dryad, like they're kind of the same
Yeah,
ilk,
yeah,
so
yeah,
they know.
Take an entire day to say good morning. Classic stuff.
Classic.
Is that a Lord of the Rings?
That was a Lord of the Rings.
Cool.
And finally, Tree Stride. Once on her turn, the Dryad can use 10 feet of her movement to step magically into one living tree within her reach and emerge from a second living tree within 60 feet of the first tree, appearing in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the second tree. Both trees must be large or bigger.
Very cool.
I always think that giving your NPCs like cool movement abilities is kind of cool, or I've kind of come to understand that, I think, because that was kind of one of my go-to things when we were slogging through dragons, that like they didn't have much movement-y stuff that would help them avoid just being a punching bag. So I think that giving people stuff like this is really cool. It also gives them more opportunities to be non-combative.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a Dryad way.
Agreed, yeah.
Way of running away. Yeah.
Mikey, would you like to read the actions?
Actions. All right, let's do it, guys. Club. A club attack. Melee weapon attack. +2 to hit. +6 to hit with Shillelagh. Reach 5 feet. 1 target. Hit 2 or 1d4 bludgeoning damage. Or 8, 1d8 +4 bludgeoning damage with Shillelagh. So, good stuff. You can high power, super power club with that one. I think it's just a big stick. It's just a stick.
Yeah, it's just a stick.
That's makes sense.
Yeah.
Fey Charm. Here's the meaty part.
Yes.
The Dryad targets one humanoid or beast that she can see within 30 feet of her. If the target can see the Dryad, it must succeed on a DC 14 Wisdom saving throw or be magically charmed. The charmed creature regards the Dryad as a trusted friend to be heeded and protected. Although the target isn't under the Dryad's control, it takes the Dryad's requests or actions in the most favorable way it can. Each time the Dryad or its allies do anything harmful to the target, it can repeat the saving throw, ending the effect on itself on its success. Otherwise, the effect lasts 24 hours or until the Dryad dies. It is on a different plane of existence from the target, or it ends the effect as a bonus action. If the target's saving throw is successful, the target is immune to the Dryad's Fey Charm for the next 24 hours. The Dryad can have no more than one humanoid and up to 3 beasts charmed at a time. There you go. That's cool. That's just a charm technique there.
Yeah.
I like to think that it'll be easy enough. It's easy enough to break through, but also it might be you could get a lot of your players with that if they're level 1, But DC 14 Wisdom, that's fine. And all you really need is for your mates to bonk you in the head, just like if they're under spell.
Strike me.
And then just like bonk, and then you're, I'm out. Thanks, man. I'm fine, But I think with that's a fun way to introduce, a fun status element if you are fighting them at like level 1, for like new players. Or it's just a way of just trying to stop you from fighting it, just to charm you and just like, listen to me now. Don't fight. Just how about we have a talk, because it is a neutral Fey.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to describe a kind of low level charm thing, because like in the stuff that you had there, Daniel, before, you were saying that they would like just take them away and they'd be gone for 1d4 years. Whereas this
Forever.
is a much lower risk. And with 5th edition, there is a much more gradual scaling of difficulty. And so giving a like low level, low danger kind of charm idea is really good. And I think this is a nice description of basically how to do that, to put into words what a charming creature would do. It would basically just do that to defend itself or to try to take them away if they are the, what was it, 18 plus? If they were
16 or higher charisma.
16 or higher.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't even specifically say in this, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, but there was no mention of that specifically.
How do we think the stat block is, guys? I think it's pretty obvious now. We all said it that it's not really much of a combative monster. Really, it's not really meant for a fight. And I say the Matrix room would be a little bit boring.
Yeah.
You talk about that, but it has a few, cool things, like you can talk to beasts and plants, it can move to trees, kind of stuff that you wouldn't really use too much in a fight, I think. But the only attack it really has is a club, and that's it, and Shillelagh to use the club, and maybe Entangle. Stuff, a lot of its spells is kind of to help and to stop a fight from happening, I think.
Yeah, or to stalk a character that they're interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Pass Without a Trace. And just generally be a forest creature with druidcraft and stuff. And Goodberry, you can like probably plant that in the ground and it'll make fertile soil is probably how I would go about that. Just like I think it's really, really nice. Like you can improvise like that. Like they plant good berries to fertilize the soil and make more stuff grow. Or like they put on bark skin and then move into a tree and tree stride, and that hardens the outside of the trees somewhat against whatever. Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun stuff that you could do around what we've been given here.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool.
Any thoughts on the stat block, Dan?
The Dryad is not immune to being charmed.
Ah.
Okay.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
For a creature that within, at the very least within the fiction of Dungeons and Dragons, has always been one who uses the ability to charm creatures, to manipulate people and put them under their control.
But magic resistance wouldn't count towards that?
It would, if it was, assuming it's a magical charm effect. I don't think there's any non-magical charm effects in 5th edition.
Do Fey creatures, are they normally immune to charm, or they're like...
Well...
Is it like charmed sleep, like magically put to
Well,
sleep?
exactly, yeah. If you consider the elvish ability Fey Ancestry, which says magic cannot put you to sleep and you have advantage on saving throws to avoid becoming charmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a thought. Now, with that said, this is a Fey, and if you consider how spells are worded, charm person, for example, says a humanoid. It doesn't say whatever you like. You can't use charm person on animals. You can't use it on dragons. You can only use it on humanoids. It's typing as a creature gives it immunity to a lot of spells. But it's just a thought. It's just an interesting thought. I think I have a suspicion that a lot of spells that charm things specify that Fey aren't affected.
Yeah.
Which maybe is a design decision, that spells should say they don't affect Fey instead of Fey having inherent immunity.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting idea. I don't know if I agree with it, but it's an interesting idea. Other than that, yeah, I agree with everything you guys have said. It's clearly not a combatant. If a creature's best option in combat is to hit you with a stick, it's probably not here to threaten you.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. And yeah, that was the only other thought I had. I thought it was interesting because I think I've said this before. I've said this every time we do it, but I'll bring it up here in case this is your first episode, listener. I love monsters that don't speak common. I think it's fantastic when monsters don't speak the language of normal creatures. And so the party have to rely on their other languages. And if you don't have Elvish or Sylvan, you can't speak with this creature. And the chances that you don't have it are very low because you've got, probably 3 or 4 party members. You've probably each got one extra language. So that's like at least 3 languages. You probably got more because your backgrounds and things like that. So realistically, you speak something that this creature speaks, so it's actually not a problem. But even still, the simple decision for the rules to say, in the same way that I like when the rules say, you vanish for D4 years. I like when the rules say, this creature doesn't speak common. It doesn't matter what you say to it in common. It cannot understand you. And I think I like that. I think it's nice. I think that you can create, rules that reinforce the notion that like the Dryad is separated from the mortal world. It doesn't speak their tongue.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Very cool. Shall we move on to next part then?
Let's.
While we're kind of touching upon
Yes.
Let's do
the border.
Let's do it.
Dessert Town. Ring those dessert bells.
Ringo's dessert bell.
It's me, Ringo, and I'm here with your dessert.
Thanks, Ringo.
Thanks,
Great
Ringo.
dessert.
This is great.
Your name is very appropriate for ringing bells.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody, to Dessert Town. I am your host, Mikey DC, and I'm here to talk to Tim Porter and
Hello.
Dan. What do you got? What do you guys got?
I get a surname, but Dan does not.
I think it's that's fine. I don't mind. I have a question.
Stick around to the end of the episode if you want to hear something completely unrelated than Daniel's question. Okay, back to the episode.
Right, so, we Matrix Room this. What do you guys think is going to happen in the Matrix Room?
They're going to bludgeon this creature to death in
100%.
one round, probably less. It has 22 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even a level 1 guy, like in one round, it'll be gone. I'd say,
Yep.
like a sword.
It can't use its
hopefully
tree
a ring.
stride. It can't speak with beasts and plants.
Yep.
Its best chance is to charm your paladin or whatever your heavy hitter is to try to protect you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then the first time they're hit,
Yeah.
done.
If you have a paladin and it charms the paladin, and the paladin spends all its turns healing the Dryad, the Dryad will last longer, but it won't survive.
No.
Yeah. So there's no fight there at all, even
Correct.
in the Matrix Room. So
Indeed.
there you go. Perfect system, guys. The Matrix Room. I think.
Yes. Flawless in all of it.
The only metric by which any creature should be measured.
Yes.
Yeah, because you don't need, like, people go like, oh, what should I don't know what monster to use. I don't know what do I go with CR? What do I do? And then we're just like, nah, man, just like go to two of your friends and like devise this weird Matrix Room and put your players and the monster in it. And then just think about what will happen, and then
Exactly.
use your it's like Hero when they fought in their heads.
Yes.
Remember in Hero when they fought?
I remember in
they
Hero
thought
when
of
they
the
fought in
fight.
their heads.
Yeah,
And
it's just
movie.
exactly that, but with D&D monsters and D&D players. That's really it. We're just doing Hero. If you guys seen Hero,
Great movie.
it's a fantastic movie.
have you seen Hero, guys at home? If you haven't, check it out. It's good.
It's good. It's good, and
Good
you
movie.
can watch the sub. The dub's not great, I don't think.
Yeah, subs over dubs.
The sub's fine. There's actually not that much talking in it, so a lot of it's just very beautifully choreographed action scenes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I had an interesting idea there in the first part for how I think I would implement a Dryad, at least, into my world. And I think I did actually something similar in my setting. But in the first little section there, the tree bound, it says that powerful fae will sometimes bind lesser fae spirits to trees, transforming them into Dryads. And so for that to be a punishment, my brain is like, okay, so they did something bad. And this is a punishment, so it's something they're not going to like. So in my mind, you're going to have a potentially really angry Dryad who is going to like fight against the nature of the tree that they've been bound to and maybe cause some kind of corruption or blight within it. So I think, is the Gulthias tree a thing?
Yes.
Very much. Yeah. I think in my setting specifically, what I did was I had them be like a conduit for the Gulthias tree to like come into the material plane, and the Dryads were just these real nasty, basically 4th edition creatures.
Okay.
Because for this to be a punishment, they've got to be, I mean, it's a Fae punishment, so they could be punished for like washing their hands the wrong way or something, you know?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
But I feel like a Fae would be pretty mad about being bound to something. I mean, a lot of Fae seem to find themselves in that position and just resign themselves to it because the Archfey is like, now you do what I tell you, or I guess I'll do something else and you won't be able to rebel against that. But to my mind, I think this would be a cool way to make the blighted trees or some entrance to like the Gulthias tree for it to consume a certain area or something like that. Like a big bad Dryad, an angry one, as opposed to the kind of calm, non-combative kind of idea that we get from the book. So like flipping this guy on its head, basically. Yeah. Also, I think making them kind of more androgynous than specifically feminine kind of makes sense to me because I don't know. Just
I'd
having
agree.
just
I agree with
sexy
that too.
ladies
Yeah.
all the time is like
It's
getting old.
it's just childish. It's like
Yeah.
they're fey spirits. Why are they always sexy women?
yeah.
Sexy women.
It's like
we
just-
need sexy men and
I
sexy
want
androgynous
a hunk
characters.
to come out of a tree, wizards. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Give me a hunk of
Mike
tree.
Merles,
That's
I
us.
want a hunk to come out of a tree. Mike, I'm not talking to anyone else right now. Mike Merles of Wizards of the Coast. I want a hunk out of a tree.
I think it's time, guys. 2020. It's time for everyone to be horny. I think everyone is
Here's
horny.
been very chaste. I think
Yeah.
I think
Tastes change. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with Tim. I think we should have sexy dryads of every shape.
Yeah.
Every imaginable sexy dryad should be
I
envisioned.
think even specifically non-gendered because like male.
Yeah,
and
that's why I
female,
said just shape, just
Yeah,
sexy
yeah.
shape.
sexy shapes.
Yeah.
A nice
you
triangular
like.
one.
They don't even have to be like. I mean, like I honestly think you could double down on the notion of like they're not fucking human. Like
Yeah.
they're literally like tree spirits designed to seduce you. They just look sexy and not even in a way that makes sense. They literally just have magic that you just
Yeah.
think they look attractive.
They just have like curves in all the right places, but also
Yeah.
slightly all the wrong places, and you're confused.
She had legs in all the right places.
What does that even mean?
That's a famous noir joke a friend of my brother made. It's like she came into my office and she had legs in all the right places. It's just because it sounds like something a noir detective would say, but it's
amazing.
just
Yeah.
wrong enough.
I thought that was. It sounded like
Very uncanny valley.
ZZ Top. I thought that was in their song. She's got legs.
She's got
all the
legs.
right places. Yeah, I think a fun thing is just like, and also whatever your players like, if they're trying to charm them, maybe they can just change their look, whatever they prefer, whatever they like. Do that. Mess around with it, guys, but they don't have to just be sexy ladies. That's what we're saying. Just do you get
Yes, I
literally.
think we're all in
It's
agreement.
time for them to be whatever they want. you
Yeah.
know?
You could just tell the players you see a beautiful dryad, and then whatever the character comes up with in their head is fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like they don't have to be even gendered like out loud by the DM. They can just be whatever your characters play with.
And we say that there for the Dryad, but we act like, and this is, well, I think this anyway. You can do that with any monster in this book.
Agreed.
For anything. If they say they're more masculine, if they say they're more feminine, just like, fuck that shit. Just make whatever you want. Make whatever monster you want.
Yeah.
And just, like, go with the stat block, but how they look is up to you. Like, dude, that's the best thing about D&D, kind of making your own story and making your own world. Like,
Yeah.
come on, guys.
Come on, man.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. Or don't go with the stat block because sometimes we're like, this is bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I just did not use this book.
Yeah.
Abandon this book, all ye who enter here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I was about to say myself that in like what you're saying there, Tim, just reminded me of I think in settings before I've tried to devise, or I think it could be even in my current setting with Dan, someplace, because that's still a work in progress. But I had like this big world tree kind of thing. That's just this really big tree where all the elfy elves like to hang out, and all the kind of like fae. It's kind of like a center of fae, I think. Really, I like to have. Or it's kind of like maybe like a bridge between whatever Fey Wild and like the material plane is.
Yeah. Like in Yggdrasil kind of thing.
Yeah, very much like that. I just kind of took that and kind of made my own there, really. And I like to think that I kind of had dryads all be from that, pretty much. It was like multiple dryads from one really big tree instead of dryads from like different trees and stuff. Like, but they're all kind of connected to this one thing. That was just an idea that I had a little while back. So you could do that if you so wish.
Yeah. I like it. Kind of a centralized dryad government.
I guess so, yeah. It's more like, it's all like it all goes back to this one tree. All the trees in the world. Any ideas for adventures with the dryads, guys? Any adventure ideas popping in your head?
I feel like a nice simple one is like the dryad has charmed somebody's husband or wife away, because this is going to be challenge rating 1, so it's going to be a very early kind of setting. So it's going to be a potentially non-combat, and you just have to go and find this dryad. Bring your sexiest player characters out to the forest, and then they'll be like,
equip your
"Ooh."
hunkiest character hero.
Yeah.
Then go out into the forest and hope the dryad tries to grab you, and you're like, hey, are you the one that grabbed so and so? And they'll be like, oh, you got me, and then you have
me
to
back that person's husband and or sheep.
yeah,
And then
or we'll do something about it. Yeah,
and they're like, what are you gonna do? And then
it's up to your players, and then you just work with your players with whatever they tend to do.
Yeah, cool. I do like the idea of the Dryad also being some sort of like a helpful aid that we mentioned at the start of the podcast, I think, where they're very good at, like, because they know everything that's going on in the forest. Yeah. If you just, maybe you actually just get your players, it's a magical forest and they get lost in it. It's like a lost woods kind of thing where they keep trying to get out and they just can't get out. And then they just have to appease the Dryad somehow. You know, they have to kind of like, the Dryad's like, what are you doing here in my forest? And they're like, I don't know. We're going through. And like, no one just goes through. Like last time people went through, there was monsters or something, or there was a force of evil people. And like, I don't know anything about that. Like, it sounds like you do. Like, we actually don't. We're just stupid. And then you just have to talk to them about it. Like, no, look, no, you. And then you kind of have to maybe like just like negotiate to get out of there or something. Maybe you have to find something for them. You know, like lots of different stuff with that. But or you're just like, listen, we came here because you might know about something going on in this forest, and then they're like, oh, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Ooh. Give me 17 boar asses, and then I might tell you the answer. So, hero.
Yeah.
There is a line in the second edition Monster Manual where it talks about habitat and society, which is one of the things that the second edition manual does that I really like, where it breaks down like how they fight, but also like just how they live and where they live, which is really cool.
Yeah,
it has a very interesting line. It basically explains that dryads are all attached to one specific tree, and they can't go more than 360 yards from that tree. Mm-hmm. If they do go further away, they become weak and die within a matter of hours, unless they're returned to their home. It says the oak trees of dryads don't radiate magic, but someone finding a dryad's home has great power over her. A dryad suffers any damage inflicted upon her own tree. Mm-hmm. So I really like the idea that you could do that, you know, the classic plot of the Dryad is stealing people away, but the complication is that actually a more dangerous enemy has some kind of impending threat. You know, it could be like someone with a band saw, or it could be anything else. Some kind of impending threat upon the Dryad's tree itself. Mm. And the Dryad is acting under compulsion. It's basically like, if you don't do what we say, we'll cut down this tree. We'll set it on fire. We'll do whatever we want. So it's the same kind of story, but rather than just being like, it's a level 1 monster that doesn't really have a lot of a meaty challenge in combat, it can be like the role-play encounter is getting this information out of the Dryad, and then the actual big boss fight is against like the bandit leader or the orc captain or whoever actually controls the tree, you know, and you've got this really cool, complicated fight where maybe the Dryad actually comes with the party, but when the orcs realize they've been betrayed, they begin attacking the tree. And whenever they attack the tree, the Dryad takes damage. So there's like a timed element where the party have to reach the tree and stop the lumberjack, while also like saving the hostages and defeating the orc captain. So like they've got this like complicated multi-stage battle to end their little adventure.
Cool.
And maybe when you're encountering the Dryad, and maybe they can kind of, like, if you think, oh, we can take on a Dryad, but maybe they can threaten you, but like, no, I'm going to like, you know, tell all like the wolves or something, or all the animals to just attack you, just gang up on you. Like, I'm going to tell all the wolves where you are, you know, or something like that. Like, oh yeah, no, like you might be able to take me on, but how about like how about D10 wolves? Like, or 2 D10 wolves? Oh shit. Like, if you're level 1 party, then that's pretty threatening. You know?
I had a thought there, kind of inspired by a little bit of mythology that I read. So in my future setting that I intend to write, where it's all the dragons basically build the entire world, there's a story about the Lauma, or Laume, the Lithuanian Laume, where there's a story of a woman who brings her child out into the fields and is working really hard. She has to look after the sheep, and then she has to cut the corn or whatever, and she has to do all of this other work, and she accidentally forgets her child in the field. And then she goes home to her husband, and the husband's like, where's my son? And he's like, oh shit, I left it out in the field.
Oh no.
And so she runs back, and these Laume are speaking to the child, but they see the mother coming, and she's begging them, please give me my child back. And they're like, we understand, you work very hard, and you know that you didn't maliciously forget this child. So they shower the child with gifts and return the child to the mother, and they are able to raise like multiple children on the money and riches that they're given. But another mother learns about this story and goes about and works and is about to leave and remembers the child, but then leaves anyway, and then comes back later to see that the Laume have like taken the child basically, and they're like, well, you left the child on purpose in like
Oops.
in your greed, and so we have taken your child. So that's a big oops. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's
Oops
like
there,
it's an
yeah.
on purpose oops almost. So like you could have the dryads be kind of almost like a moral compass in a magical world where the magical and fey creatures are kind of blended with the morality and maybe even religion of the world, so that like that kind of stuff can happen where the stories and folk tales told are of actual like things that happened. Stuff like that might be fun. It would take a lot of effort.
Anyway, then they took my kids.
Yeah, and then they either give kids loads of gold or they steal kids. Any final thoughts?
After forgetting the original child I came in with.
Is this my one? I don't know. I'll take it anyway.
Sounds like that's a Creature Club, guys.
I think so.
That's the Dryad.
Indeed.
So, final words on the Dryad. I'd say a cool monster to put into the world somehow, but not much of a fight going on there. But it's kind of stuff around the encounter. I think it's kind of the non-combat encounters you want to do with this one, or just something to flavor up your world a bit.
Yeah.
There's a few of those monsters that pop up in the book, and this is one of them. So there we go.
Yeah.
I think personally, I prefer, just because of the way I am, I prefer the old school Dryad where they just vanish your character.
Well, you
I
can
think
do
that's-
that.
I think
Like,
that's cool as hell.
You can still do that.
Because like the thing is, right, like it doesn't actually banish your character. If the Dryad takes one of the party members, then the party's first priority is to get that character back, which is just a very interesting thing to solve. You know, especially if it's like the Dryad vanishes and it's like, well, where is the Dryad? How do we find the Dryad? How do we draw them out again? We need more attractive people. So I don't know. I really like that, but I just like that old stuff of like, I just think it's always fascinating where like especially 5th edition is very guilty of like the threat that any monster poses is how much damage they deal. And I think I like the old school approach of like, you know, dragons and goblins and orcs are like the threat they pose is that they can attack you with weapons. But then there's like other threats in the world, and the threat they pose is that they are like magic creatures and they will like do things that like you can't deal with because you're like just people. And I think that's fun.
Many other threats in the world, like capitalism.
Yes.
But yeah,
Or a global pandemic. For
yes,
example.
indeed. Good lord. But I think is that it? That's it?
Yeah, just thought I'd
Yeah.
mention it. I just thought I'd remind
Yeah.
everyone it's fucking cool. And actually, sorry, as a final point, actually, this idea that someone goes missing for 1 to 4 years because of a Dryad is a very interesting way to have missing peoples in your world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they are hypnotized for half of a decade by a fey creature is both an interesting way to create missing persons and also to return them unharmed to the party if that's what they need.
And what's the connecting factor of all these missing people? They're all hot. There you go. There's an adventure for you guys.
They were all very
Take down.
sexy, hero.
They're all very sexy.
my brain is my brain is making a Brady joke where it's like your friend is gone for 1 to 4 years. I wait. I sleep.
I wait
For 1
Oh,
to
I
4
sleep.
years. When do
I
they
just
return?
wait.
I wait for. They won't be back till 4 years. Or I'll wait. A few short rests.
I think I'll wait. Do I get a downtime action? Or
You actually get, and then just takes out a calculator.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of downtime actions.
So one thing that I gained from my time away was my new friend Brent actually decided to start listening to the podcast. He was a friend of mine from work, and he started with dragons, so he
Oh,
got
God.
all the. He
Hello,
would
Brent.
come back and talk. Yeah, Brent, he's a great guy. He's a absolute gentleman and
Hello,
is
Brent.
a
Thanks
gem
for listening.
himself. Yeah,
I wish my friends listened to the podcast.
but yeah, he's a good guy, and he deserves a shout out. He's just great.
Yeah. Well, Brent, thank you so much for listening. Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're doing cool.
Yeah, he's doing cool.
Any friend of Tim is a friend of ours. So
Hey.
welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy it. Stick around. Wipe your feet in before you go into the sitting room. Actually, leave your shoes there. Just take off
Leave
your
the shoes by the
please.
door. Yeah,
Yeah, by the door.
It's that
Right,
kind
come
of
on in.
Leave your shoes there. Ringo's brought dessert, so we're just.
I
gonna
just brought
tuck
dessert.
in.
Do you want a soda pop? Do you want a
I just finished the last of the
fizzy-
pale ales, so there's none of them going.
sorry,
I'm
man.
going. Sorry, I didn't think there was guests coming over.
He likes
did I.
kind of sweeter drinks anyway, so he wouldn't be into much of a pale ale.
Oh, okay.
So he'll have one of my Mike's or something like that.
Mike's.
Yeah, Mike's hard lemonade.
It's very nice.
Yummy, yummy. Well, thank you everybody for listening, especially Brent, and I'm sure all of our usuals, Chris and Brady and Rob and all those lovely friends of ours.
They're going to be raging that you said especially Brent. I'll tell you that.
Especially Brent.
Our latest friend who listens. Yeah. We are
Lots of people
Creature Club
listen to this
Podcast. You can lots of people do. To everybody, especially everybody.
Yeah. All you are great. If you're listening to it, you're great. All right.
You can find us at creatureclubpodcast.com, right? God, it's been so long.
yeah.
You can contact us via the contact form.
What else would it be? CreatureClubPodcast.biz.
CreatureClubLife.ie.
creatureclub.com.ie.net, .org, .ninja.
I couldn't get the
.biz.
.ie. If you want a .ie, you have to have a business in Ireland. I did
do,
check.
Yeah.
Because I was like, can I get us the .ie? I can't.
We can get a
I-
business,
I-
Ireland. We can.
But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. As I was saying, you can contact us in our website through the contact form. You can send us an email to creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. We are on Twitter for your shorter form, quick snipes of ideas at Creature Club Pod, or you can just search Creature Club Podcast in Twitter and you'll find us there. Where else are we? Are we on Instagram or Facebook? It's been so
Are
long.
you joking, man? God, why would it be on?
Jesus.
We're already in
Face-
one hellhole.
Instagram maybe, but Facebook, feck off. Like,
Nah, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't go onto Facebook to save my arse. Like,
No.
yeah, Jesus.
and I don't know what we'd fucking do on Instagram. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, take photos of just our stupid heads, just going like, oh, made another Creature Club. Oh, recorded another one.
It's another
Oh,
one.
talked about we're doing a Dragons episode, but we talked about fucking ice cream or some shit for the entire episode.
And now we're
instead.
doing Dryad, so where we talk about dragons for 10 minutes at the start.
Then Ringo Starr shows up.
Yeah. Our buddy Ringo Starr brings us ice cream.
I love it, just like a tweet from Ringo, just like, well done, boys.
Thanks, lad.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks for shouting me out.
Ringo's on Twitter.
Yeah. Hashtag Ringo Starr for Smash. But
Yep.
I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
No.
That's it.
Keep being great, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
I don't know if the
Next
Beatles
week-
would fit in Smash, but the Gorillas might be good.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. The next best thing after the Beatles.
The tier list goes Beatles and the Gorillas.
Yeah. Right. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Next week, we will talk about something else.
Something
I
else.
have been Mikey.
Probably the Gorillas.
I have been Tim.
And I've been Dan.
My fucking hell, Dan.
You ruin it. Why would you do
Actually,
this?
it's actually
I'm
this
fuming.
podcast is ruined.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do it again, I
gonna
think. We're
delete
going to
it
have to
now.
go all
That's
the way
fine.
back.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, all right, guys, welcome to Creature Club. How's it going? I am Mikey, and we're going to talk about the Dryad today.
I
So,
can't- I can't bring that same energy that I brought at the start of the episode. I can't do it.
it was very good. It was very good energy.
It was good energy.
Also, stay cool.
Hey. Tim, would you like to read the stat block?
Sure.
Just 'cause you haven't been here in a
Dryad.
while.
I haven't. Thanks for involving me in the episode.
We can
you
tag
guys.
in if you want as well.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
slap
allowing me
us
to
in.
guest on this episode.
No problem, man.
Fine, I don't mind. I have a question.
Yes.
Ringo Starr has made you dessert. What does he bring
That's
you?
not a question. That's a
No,
statement.
no.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
a
sorry.
setup for the question. The question's
Yeah.
there. What does Ringo Starr give you for dessert? Like, imagine you've gone over to Ringo Starr's house. Maybe you ordered pizza or you had dinner together. That's not important. You've had dinner. You've got room for a nice dessert. What does he goes into the kitchen? He doesn't order something. He goes into the kitchen and you hear like he's like clattering around in some bowls and stuff. He comes out. What has he brought you for dessert?
I feel like Ringo would kick out a Viennetta. You know, you would like you would walk out with like an ice cream cake and be like, "Check, I bought this Viennetta in Tesco." Like,
I went down the
And
shops,
like,
picked up some
I'm down for
Viennetta.
that.
Tim,
I think he would bring out the American classic ambrosia, which is heavy cream, sugar,
rice pudding?
Kind of. No, not the
Okay.
branded rice pudding. It's like cream, sour cream, sugar, marshmallows, orange segments, pineapple, coconut, pecans, and cherries, and just generally a lot of like fruit in heavy cream and sour cream, and it's pretty tasty, but it's very quick to put together. So that's the kind of feeling I got from Ringo Starr.
okay.
He'd bring you something like that. What about you, Daniel?
Fair enough. I was thinking he'd give you like he'd have like a Neapolitan, and he'd give you like a little like he'd give you like a bowl with like some scoops of Neapolitan and like a little wafer. Like just kind of old school, like not a lot of prep work, but like just nice. It's just like, yeah, I'm up for this. And maybe he'd bring out like some like raspberry sauce or something that he'd let you put on yourself. He's like, oh, and help yourself to that if you'd like some.
All right, all the foods the Beatles really are. Let's have a look here. Is this what they are? Oh, Ringo. Well, 80-year-old Ringo. He says he's eating broccoli and blueberries now. That's part of his plant-based diet. So
All right.
That's very
he's
sensible.
keeping healthy. Yeah,
Full
he's
of
keeping healthy himself.
antioxidants.
Antioxidants.
It's just like what is this? Wait, hold on. All the foods the Beatles really ate. Oh, okay. Cornflakes and cream, fish and chips, of course.
Yeah,
steak,
obviously.
of course. You know, yeah, roast dinner. Yeah, that's what I do if I was in the Beatles. Like if I was on tour, I would demand a roast to every place I go to. Even though they don't really tour that. They didn't tour that much actually. They toured for half their career actually. I've been watching the Beatles anthology with my roommates. They've been watching it, and I've been hopping in and out, and I'm like, they're a good band. Like
The Beatles, yeah, I know. I feel like sometimes
Famously.
I'm just like,
yeah.
I don't really think about how good the Beatles were. I don't know if I should. But
I was actually so pissed off whenever because there's a lot of music in it, and they show a lot of them playing music, and I'd be like, that's not fair. They've written a lot of good songs, and they should leave some for the rest of us. I think
I know what you mean,
it's
yeah.
very annoying.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of good songs they've written.
it's like when
anyway,
you play Love Letter and you're like, what's the fucking point, eh? Well,
yeah, well, any other games? So like,
any other fucking game, why bother? Love Letter's just
why bother with that?
immaculate.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I was curious because we said Ringo, and I was just thinking about Ringo and dessert, and I thought I'd
Maybe
ask you guys.
cornflakes and cream. I'd say go with that as well.
Cornflakes and cream. I've never heard that one before.
That sounds actually very heavy. I think I wouldn't
Yeah.
like that.
I don't know.
The Beatles ate it apparently. So
That's fine, but they were some of the best musicians in the world, and I'm not in
Yeah.
a position
Yeah.
to say you're not allowed to eat that,
wrong.
Mister the Beatles.
you know, like,
Yeah.
Mr. The Beatles.
Do you guys know that music sounds better with you? The song.
What is it?
No.
The song?
Music sounds better with you.
Mm-mm.
No.
Ooh, baby. Feels like the music sounds better with you. That one?
I don't think so.
Well, I was only going to say, I found out that that song, Music Sounds Better With You, is by a group called Stardust.
Mm-hmm.
And they made that one song and no more songs.
Wow.
And it was I just think that's so cool. Imagine just making one really good song and being like, that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
Cheers for everything. They got offered $3 million for an album, and they were like, no, that's our best work. We're done.
Wow. Good for them.
I just thought it was so cool. I was like, that's great stuff.
That's champion. I'm going to stop recording.
I will stop recording.